riding on some grown man knees. We step into some grown man knees. Conversation on some grown man knees. Put your hands up on some grown man knees. We puffing on some grown man knees. We sipping on some grown man knees. We vibing on some grown man knees. We loving on some grown man knees. I know, you know, that you're down with me.
We in the building. We are in the building, L-I-V-E. Live on another Tuesday night. Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your phone. You know what time it is. It's time for another dope episode of Grown Man Conversations. And we always say your health is your wealth. And tonight we are talking about your mental health. Okay? Your mental. A checkup from the neck up. And with everything that's going on in the world, everything with the influence of social media, everything that's going on in our personal lives with work and relationships, children, and even ourselves getting in our own way. All we're going to break it down tonight, and we're going to talk about it, which in the black community is something that is taboo when you start talking about mental health. And a lot of times we like to sweep shit under the rug, but then the rug gets lumpy and it's hard to walk on. So tonight we're going to smooth it out. We're going to smooth it out. And before we even get into this thing, let me go ahead and introduce myself. For those of you who do not know, I am one half of the co-hosting team for Grown Man Conversations, and I go by the name of Tonex, a.k.a. your uncle's favorite uncle, in a much better grown, fit suit, ladies and gentlemen. And we are here and in red and white, looking like a sexy peppermint stick.
Peppermint Patty.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would. I am Y Square. I'm the other half of this co-hosting team. And I have several names tonight, but since we're talking about mental health, I'm just going to stick with Y Square.
Oh, no, go ahead and tell
Okay, I'm Ava Black,
all
Chocolate
your
Deluxe.
all your stripper names that you got.
Ava Black, Chocolate Deluxe, and all of that.
Because I think by the end of the night, he is going to psychoanalyze
It's already
our
happening.
relationship.
Already going on.
He going to let us know what's really going
I
on
want
over
to know
here.
what his thoughts are.
No, not now. Save
Yeah,
that.
I know
That's
the
where they
end.
ended,
Yeah,
boy.
yeah.
Listen,
Yes.
that's the fanfare.
That mental health is real.
Man, you on the couch and we don't even know it.
Yep.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by an Amazon best-selling author, professional speaker. He got into the mental therapy game as a psychiatrist or psychologist.
Social worker.
Social worker. Since 99, he's been doing this thing. He goes by the name of Christopher Godsdick. Oh, you heard the name right. You heard the name right. Mr. Godsdick.
Godsdick.
is here. God did. Is here.
What's up, OGD Lee? Thank
Is
you
here
for
tonight.
joining us tonight, family.
And the name of his book, ladies and gentlemen, is Through a Therapist's Eyes. Re-understanding emotions and becoming your best self. And look at Jackie McKenzie, my guy, yes. And we're going to give you a chance to get one of these books. You just have to keep listening.
Right.
And at the end of the podcast, we're going to give you a chance to get one.
Yeah.
All right?
So let me give you a brief story behind Chris, if you will.
Oh, dear, here we go.
Behind Chris.
Is this where it's
Yes,
going to get real?
Christopher. And
You
the
go
reason
by
I said
Chris.
that is because Jackie just, popped up on the screen and was like, my
say
guy.
And listen, I want y'all to know, okay? You know I got an X on my name. So it's only two white men that my wife mentioned in the house. That's my chiropractor, okay, and Chris.
All right, I'm
Right.
honored, man.
Okay.
That's pretty trippy.
I
right
say I
there.
got to meet him because you called him
Right.
by his first name.
Right. But look, so not too long ago recently, Carolyn, my girlfriend Carolyn, was in a play. And so right after the play, we ended up going to a restaurant out in Mountain Holly.
Sir, they were acting very appropriately the entire time.
But look, let me tell you how we met
Thank
Chris.
you, sir.
Right.
And so the
Thank
restaurant
you.
was packed. It was full.
What's
There
your
was
cash
nowhere
app?
to sit down. Exactly.
Indeed.
And of course, you know, Jackie, she does not meet a stranger.
Never
So
have.
she ends up beside Christopher and his wife, and she strikes up a conversation to where after that, Chris ends up, you know what I mean, getting up and sharing a seat and sharing a drink and buying us drink. Jackie got him buying us drink at the bar and everything. And then we get to talking about what we do, and he has a podcast, and I tell him about our podcast. So he's like, well, look, you know, maybe we should link up. And I was like, we'd love to have you guys on our show. We'll have you on our show because, of course, mental health is a great topic and one of those taboo topics in the Black community that we sometimes don't speak about publicly. But what great, you know, way to have, you know, somebody on the show. And he followed up, and now he's here. So
Well, let me
it
get
worked out.
some hand class for that story right there.
I know,
I
right?
heard about the story
Did you?
when she got home, but it wasn't.
It wasn't
It
the
didn't come
same.
off that
Was it
clear.
not the same
No.
story? It wasn't
Yes, it
quite as
was.
clear.
It wasn't
Well,
clear.
it got a
We
little
were
late.
cutting up.
It was
It
great,
got a
though.
little
We
late.
were cutting up.
It was great though. I said, oh, he must have good energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I can't wait till he comes on the show, and then you've already seen Jackie Fillmore.
Yeah, Jackie said
But
that.
I'm glad I'm your guy.
Talk about
Yeah.
my
That's awesome, right there.
guy.
She put it up there
That's-
again.
Yeah.
Jackie said,
Dang,
my
man,
guy.
I am
Oh, you're
honored.
special.
I am honored.
You're special. Let's start off like this. What got you interested in the world of mental health?
Because I'm crazy and I needed to figure it out. Just kidding.
I
Just
found
kidding.
somebody I
Not
like. I
really.
like him.
but
I like him.
Yeah.
First of all, yeah, I'll answer that. But you know what's interesting? You both said it, and I have an observation that is really neat because you know I'm passionate about what I do with mental health, and you know I've been doing it since actually '95 in some form or another, and I have noticed some very distinct changes that is absolutely cool. And you're right. I mean, obviously, I'm not a black guy, but I've been working with a lot of people and I lived in the South for a while. When I first started, dude, you'd never see, you know, dudes really wouldn't come to therapy very much, whatever race or whatever. But then you started seeing, you know, black folk come in, and I was like, man, that's interesting. Dude, I will now readily have black folks come in on their own, men, for therapy sessions, and I can't tell you how cool that is. I mean, I have noticed a distinct change. And I used to say until very recently, I don't see Hispanic men, typically. That's starting to change too, guys. So this is a major switch, and I love to see it because it's what we're all about it through What Therapist Does is blowing up stereotypes and myths and getting good information out there. It's been with us, mental health, substance abuse issues for a long time, and people are really kind of breaking that down. So that is changing. I don't know if you guys would agree or not.
Oh, I definitely would agree.
Yeah.
Because in the black community, we think that you can pray everything away. Okay? Either you can pray it away or ginger ale and Robitussin. But you can pray what
Ale and
you
Robitussin? I gotta try that one.
Ginger ale and Robitussin kill
Okay.
everything in
Right.
the black household. But you can pray it away. If there's something going on, just pray about it. If you're feeling a certain way, just pray about it. And what we're learning is that you can pray about it.
Well, or more
But you
so,
need to
you know,
talk about it.
or more so, I just don't have it. It ain't a thing. I don't know what you're talking about, right? Like, you know, ain't no depression.
Yeah.
There ain't no suicide. There isn't no, like, yeah, everybody gets worried a little bit, but I ain't got no anxious.
Right.
You know, we've moved to being able to, pray about it, talk about it, but actually now we're doing stuff about it. I'm telling you, I'm excited to see that change.
And it's a change that's needed because a lot of people don't have outlets.
Right.
You know, that's when the drugs come in. That's when the
other
alcohol
vices,
comes in.
yeah.
That's when you play PS4 all day. That's when it starts going downhill in your relationship. That's when your kids get it. That's everybody gets it except you. One of the hardest things to do is look at yourself in the mirror
In a minute.
and start admitting that you have faults, you have problems. Shadow work is some of the hardest work to do when you start looking inward. It's easy to look outward because that's the ego. And the ego is always going to tell you, you're going to be fine, you're
Right.
going to be all right, we can work it out. But when you start looking inward, that's when you start seeing the ugly side of who you really are. And that's a lot of times when we say, oh, no, I might I may have been depressed a little bit about what happened, but I'm not suffering from depression.
Right.
I might be a little anxious about what was going on last week, but I'm not labeled with anxiety, you know. And
I ain't gonna be crazy.
right.
But that's where it starts. And look,
Yeah.
OGD Lee says the first thing we say is, "Ain't nothing wrong with me."
Everybody
And-
tells that because who wants to walk around and say there's something wrong with me?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know.
No, that's one of the things that I love doing our show and bringing our platform and awareness up and everything, because there are so many myths and stereotypes and stigmas that are out there. People really, and another thing's cool though, that again things are changing. People have figured out that mental health is real, and it's entered into our vernacular, like our language, our the words we use. People will say this. Oh yeah, my addiction's bad today. Addiction's a bad one because there's so much. Like, what is addiction? We have like so many shows that we've focused on that because people don't know. People don't know what depression is, the symptom sets to look for, but yet they'll say they're depressed, right?
Yeah.
And we use these words. To me, they really mean something with clinical symptom sets that we look for. So you can Google stuff, but be careful about minimizing. Like, I'm depressed sometimes too. I'm bummed out. I'm sad sometimes, but depression
Is a different.
That is a whole nother level.
Right.
Yeah, like Darlinda says, she says the signs of depression have changed through the years, and she said this is such an important discussion.
Very important discussion.
Absolutely.
And then you're talking about addiction. No one wants to admit that they're an addict. And addiction comes in all sizes, all flavors. Everybody has some form of addiction. But when it gets to the point where it starts to move into the routine of your day-to-day and basically takes over your life and your lifestyle, that's when it becomes a problem.
Okay, this is a perfect example. Perfect example. I'm glad you went there, right? Did you notice how what you said is everyone has addiction. When you have this, though, it progresses and it controls your life and whatnot. I would submit to you that's exactly what I was talking about with, like, we have this developing knowledge that people are starting to talk about things, and I love it. But what we got to figure out is what is and what isn't these things, because there's so many myths, and if you're all right with it, I'd love to blow one up right now.
Let's do
Right?
that. Yeah.
Not everybody has addiction, not at all. We've known since about the 70s or whatnot that it affects about 10 to 15% of our population. Now, there's a lot of people that misuse alcohol.
Things, yeah.
Nowadays, it's weed. Now, and then people don't
Right.
drink anymore. Now they just use weed as kids and stuff in schools. So, but that gets really crossed over to where are you abusing a substance? Are you misusing it to cope with emotions and whatnot? Or do you have these specific things that we look for that set us into chemical dependency or alcoholism, as you say, addiction?
So what are some of those signs, and what are some of those things that set? So for a person who may be battling with this at home, who's thinking, am I depressed, or am I in a state of sadness, or am I, addicted to something? Like, what are some of those signs maybe that you would say?
It's a lot to kind of go into. Honestly, it's one of the. I'd refer you for a deep dive on our podcast, honestly, because it's so difficult to answer that. That it does drive me nuts because. People, what is OCD? What is bipolar is another one. People talk about bipolar all the time. Well, that means something very specific to me and a set of stuff. Real quick, the biggest distinction between somebody abusing substances and addiction is actually, as you pointed out, loss of control. But we look for, which I've kind of identified an easy way to help people understand, is unpredictability about your relationship with a substance. So you never really know what's going to happen. I might drink 2 and be home when I said I was going to be, or I might not and drink 22 and be home at 3 in the morning, right? So you just never know the predictability. But there's preoccupation, there's cravings, there's experiences with blackouts, there's experiences with shame and guilt, using before events so that it's minimized, rationalization systems that we're looking for. There's a lot of things that are specific with each mental health and substance abuse reality. So that's hard to answer. That's the best I can do.
You're going to have to come back for a part 2, of course.
Well, and I love that, actually.
I've got a question for you. I've got 2, as a matter of fact. Number 1, would you say that addiction and habit
Yeah,
on the
different things.
same street?
Different things.
Are they on the same street?
Mm-hmm. They're probably in a parallel neighborhood, you know, but we all get a little compulsive, you know, like I've got my habits and routines, and that's normal. It's pretty adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty grounded. In fact, they can be really helpful, you know, to keep us straight, to keep us on the right and narrow. But when you clip over to the loss of control,
Right.
with alcohol, drugs, pot, pills, all that, by the way, we've got sex addictions, gambling addictions, eating addictions, and the World Health Organization recognizes, I do too, online video gaming addictions. But let's look at online video gaming addictions and what that's different. Like, I'm compulsive about StarCraft. I love it. I play it. It's great. I sucked at it last night. It really pissed me off. But that's okay. I don't know what button you're pushing over there, man, but it was frustrating, right? So you could say that I compulse with that a little bit, that I play too much. But when we cross over to some of those symptom sets that we're looking for, bro, like these people are playing 15, 16, 18 hours a day in a 24-hour period kind of level. That's a whole, right? Like, you know, somebody that has an alcohol problem, I mean, they're blacking out.
Right, they're not able to function
times a month.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
But what is somebody with sexual addiction? What are they doing?
Okay.
Are they blacking out too?
Is this a family show?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's
No,
a
it's
grown.
not.
No,
No,
it's
this
a
is a
grown
grown
show. It's a grown show.
It's a grown man show,
I
right?
said
Okay.
shit. I said shit 5 minutes before 5 minutes into the show. See?
I was aware of that.
Right,
I was aware of that. I mean, look, Tone, you know what your head count is. I'm not going to ask, and you're not going to ask me mine. But, you know, when people that get into a pattern with sexual partners, I'm sorry, that's what it is. Dude, they might be hitting triple digits easy, 500, 600 people. That's a lot. I couldn't imagine it, right? Not to mention, that's a lot of people, man.
That's a lot of people.
Right? So, or you get into pornography, and you're spending time, you know, like you wouldn't believe. It comes on your computer at work. You begin, now, mind you too, with addiction, it starts small, and it grows and grows and grows after a period of time, years. I mean, you know, so it doesn't get that way when you're 18. But you begin to know what you're looking for, and we're talking about these symptom sets. It's a different ball game, man.
OG D. Lee says, is addiction and denial the same thing?
Denial is an interesting thing. When you're talking about denial, you're talking about that being a part of the rationalization system. A lot of people get confused in that with addiction deal. It's like you're not recognizing I might have an issue or whatnot, and then denying it. You literally don't have an ability to see. Like, you know, we probably have somebody that we suspect is a problem with alcohol, right? Or you see it. You could see it. It's clear. Second marriage, got 2 DUIs, whatever's going on, and they just literally deny it, meaning they don't have an ability to see it. I got a cool sheet that I like to give people, count the F's on this page, and you know, it's kind of, you can't read the paper properly, right? So you literally like don't notice the way that it's written. You can't count the number of F's on the page. That's a state of denial, right? Like you literally can't see it. Blind. You really think like, yo, I
don't have a problem.
See this chick over here drinking like she do. I'm a man and I drink less than her is what you rationalize. You know, so yeah, that's denial.
A lot of times that's the ego coming into play too. Because the
Indeed.
ego is set up to protect you, and a lot of times it's a mask that we all wear, that we show people when they see us. Because if we all had to break down and look inward, like I said, and that's what you had to project to people. A lot of people would. You wouldn't want people to see that, and a lot of people wouldn't want to see that. And for those who, peace to the Elohim, Tonex, and wife. What's going on,
Hi,
family?
Kadar.
Salam alaikum to you, brother. Peace and
yes.
blessings to you, family. He said 500 to 600 times. I'm still stuck on that. Because that listen, that right there,
that's a whole lot of.
That I remember.
A whole lot of butt.
Well, you know, listen, there's something cool that I want to point out. I'm playing off of what you was just saying there. So we can get off and try to figure out some of the things about clinical situation, clinical diagnosis and whatnot. But, you know, let's back that train down to what you was just talking about, because that really is all of us. Like, one of the things I'm totally jamming with is the idea that, people are really becoming aware of the mental health reality for all of us.
Yeah.
Just like your physical health, I made a joke before the mics came on about my belly. Well, right? I told him that he needed to have a belly slimming technology device, man.
Right.
Got me on camera, and I was promised that, and it ain't here, but that's okay.
Right.
But the thing is, I'm working with a dietitian. I'm starting to learn about that. Hitting 50, I got to figure this out, right? Which is one of the things we say on our show. And I love. I coined the phrase like, let's figure this thing out together, because we are really all affected by that, and I think that we're really figuring that out, so that right from grade school, instead of just learning about what bacteria is and cell meiosis. That's a thing, right? Isn't meiosis a thing? I don't know what it means, but it sounds
Yeah,
sounds
it's a thing.
Sounds
the cells
good.
splitting apart and whatever. We learn about that.
It's a hell of a Scrabble word.
We're starting to learn about your feelings and emotions with our little kiddos in that grade level. And I think it shocked me when my little kid brought that back in his health book when he was like second grade. I was like,
and I think that's so important,
right?
Because you made a statement before that a lot of things with mental health is like a gradual state. So it's not like you wake up one day and all of a sudden I'm crazy, or all of a sudden I'm off. There's things that happen that gradually, there are signs that people may look at and misinterpret as, okay, no, it's not really a problem, or they may be in that denial stage. So maybe now, like you're saying, tapping into it at an earlier age with our youth, maybe that is a part of the key of changing some of the events that may happen in the future. Because, and the reason why I say that is like, when you look at the mass shootings that have happened, whether it's at a school, whether it's at a grocery store, whether it's someone personal one-on-one, the first thing that I always hear these news correspondents or mental health correspondents or, is mental health. They talk about mental health.
It is right in the middle of all that.
Right. So if we keep talking about it and we know that is a huge issue, what is really being done to tap into that, you know? And what is the difference between my kid waking up today, going to school and acting functional and eating dinner, and then the next day he's shot up 12 people? Yeah. How are the parents missing this?
Well, you stole my thunder, because another area that mental health is right in the middle of. I'm sorry, that's what I believe is the police violence and shootings. Attacks against police officers and officers being inappropriate. Mental health and trauma impact. If I can just dramatic pause there, right? That trauma reality is a mental health reality, and it's right in the middle of the issues. So the earlier that we get into people's minds to be able to understand, the realities of mental health in their life, we're going to be able to deal more effectively with some of these things. How many police officers do you think believe that mental health is an issue for them?
They probably don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they definitely, I'm sure, are going through.
Right, they are. Military people will come home, and we used to call it shell shock, and now we understand. Vietnam taught us a lot about, look, this is what your body does when you experience something traumatic. We know this now.
Trauma triggers.
Oh, the amygdala is a fight or flight system that is going to get caught into the situation, and you will either kill the person or flee like a deer to live, because you're about to die. That's what your brain is designed to do. And then we're going to try to make good decisions when we're all worked up that way in a trauma state. I could go on and on, man. It's huge.
And then you talk about people who have had traumatic experiences when they were so young that they don't remember them now. But when they have this experience, when a trigger comes up from this trauma that they don't remember, it's a direct connection to why they treat somebody a certain way, why they're a certain way towards a certain sex, why they act a certain way, and they don't even know it. Because I always say you cannot fix a problem with the same mindset that caused it.
Absolutely. You're absolutely on point there. That's the experience of repression. When you experience domestic violence as a child in your home, or all of the major poverty kind of things. I mean, I think that I'd like to make this point too, because this goes beyond gender levels and race levels by far. I mean, Matter of fact, I'm reading a book right now. Forget about mine. This one, go read a beautiful. A Walk to Beautiful. Right? It's Jimmy Wayne. He's a country music singer, and I'm reading his book. I love it because he talked about his bipolar mom and all of the stuff that they grew up with: no heat, no food, and sex and violence all over the place. I mean, one of his mother's boyfriends was hacked with a freaking hatchet, literally like right in front of him at the age of 9. So he wrote this book, and he's describing right down the road, y'all, like Vance Street, Gastonia, is where he grew up.
Wow.
Right? I mean, powerful realities, and so he wanted to bring awareness to foster kids graduating out of the system because they have nowhere to go. They go to the streets, and so he did a Walk to Beautiful. He walked across the country. Meet Me Halfway was the theme. So Jimmy Wayne, man, I need to get him on the show. Jimmy, bro, we need to talk because you're right. The more that people aren't even aware of those things, trauma and having memory, that Mother Nature kicks in, and this is too much. We're not even going to remember it.
Right.
That's what repression is. That's where memory. But guess what happens when you begin getting grounded and figuring things out, talking about things.
It shows up in other areas of your life.
You remember it.
And then you remember it.
Right? And then you can know what's going on. And as you say, then you can address it directly. Dude, to watch that happening in a therapy relationship is nothing short of an amazing honor to see people that are going through that. It's cool stuff.
Right,
Very
and
cool
it
stuff.
it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work.
It is not easy
to start peeling back the layers and trying to find the root of a lot of problems that may have been plaguing you for years. You may be 50 and you've been carrying around these traumas for 40 years since you were 10 years old.
Easy.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure this thing out. It is one of the hardest things that you will ever go through. And how about this? I think the influence of social media has made us become a society that is becoming so desensitized because you can see something as it happens in real time. Take, for instance, now, all of these killings with these young rap artists. And I was just sitting there last night, and when Yolanda got home, I said, another one has been killed.
Really?
He was in Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles in L.A.
Eating.
Oh,
and
wow.
His girlfriend put up a picture of the food, and she put the location up. And a guy came in there to rob him, and they had some words, and the guy shot him. And they're showing this video, which is another thing.
On Instagram.
We are so compelled now to take the phone and video everything. Not help, not try to find help, but video everything. They got the video of the young man laying in the restaurant with the blood oozing out.
That's crazy. You're literally on social media,
and you can see this. And the thing is, we start doing it like the first time you see something like that, you're like, man, I can't watch that. The second time you see that, you're like, man. The third time you watch it, the fourth time you watch it, you're still talking about it. Fifth, sixth time, now you like, that's
another one.
That's just another video. It's just another video.
That's terrible.
And I think social media, they came out with a statistic that talked about young females and teenage females, and how the depression rate is going up.
Oh, it's skyrocketing with
steadily
stuff.
Yeah.
Because of the influence of social media, trying to live through likes, putting up these pictures.
We even have names for
yourself
phone.
to
We have a name for it.
Oh, comparing yourself to this person and that person, and then you try to live your reality through social media. And a lot of these girls, for whatever reason, they don't see themselves measuring up, or they're not as popular as this girl. And if they don't try to physically change themselves, then you see more and more females taking their lives.
Oh, and it scares me what they get onto with the sexual pieces online, and
right, because the sex trafficking is through the roof.
Oh,
It's through, I did not realize it
across the street.
That like they're
it's
literally,
a big deal.
You can go to the Walmart and not come home, and you in the van now on your way to Ecuador.
Well, you know what's funny? A lot.
Why she got him going? You done watched that movie I was watching the other night, Trafficking. We was watching a movie called Trafficking.
Oh, okay.
Why she got him going to Ecuador? A lot of them be going to Gastonia.
And you know, we had a guy on our show talking about that because I really didn't know a lot about it. And what was his name? Martin something. It's been a minute, and he was blowing me away in understanding kind of what happens is. Honestly, you know what's happening is kids that run away from home, they're pissed off at their mom because of freaking homework or something, you know, BS like that, and they end up finding, you know, this guy, or, you know, who's going to give them 3 hots and a cot, take care of them, buy some jewelry and whatever, and that's when, you know, they're gone because they and men too, by the way. Yeah. This is not a girl thing, man. Sex trafficking, young dudes are getting into this just as well.
Oh, yeah, because that pedophile ring is huge.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So them young boys, just like he said, they're getting sought after just like the young girls.
Absolutely.
And like on the Trafficking movie, the girl said, they asked her how old she was like 19. And the girl said, well, I'm about to be out of here because I'm past my prime.
They're used up.
At 19.
That's a terrible way to say it.
10 and 12.
Oh.
10, 12, 13, 9,
Listen,
sick.
Being 14, 15, 16 years old, you might look like an adult or whatever, but you can imagine over those next couple of years how many times, this is awful, I mean, this is a terrible issue, how many times they've had sex.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
It's just horrible.
The girl said the guy would let them go once they got to 200.
Wow, is that right?
200 times. It don't have to be 200 men, but more than likely it is because it's one guy per. So once they got to 200, he would release them. And the girl was like, so you tell me, where do you go and what do you do when this has been your life for all of these years and they release you? You go back to your family and do what?
So let me ask you then, as the clinical therapist, what would you do for a person? Like what type of, just, you know, and I know of course it's deeper, but just on a surface level, someone, because you never know who's watching this, someone who may be dealing with something at home, they might not be dealing with sex trafficking, but they may be dealing with something deep within themselves that they just need to, you know, hear something. What would you encourage or what would you suggest for that individual?
Well, you know what popped into my head? I swear I'm not doing promo. That's not my deal here, but we just got together with a guy named Chris Davos that we were creating a platform called This Will Not Defeat Me, and the first video that we're doing is after sexual abuse, because he gets on our video experience and he describes his own experiences. Don't Google it, it ain't even anywhere out yet, but hopefully it'll be soon, because that's what he wants people to know. That's where my brain went. Yeah. Right. And he described, you're right, it doesn't have to be, you know, massive sex trauma, trafficking, or being abducted and living in somebody's barn up in Utah, or where'd you say?
Ecuador. Now, what's going on in Ecuador?
You know, he described his uncle. Because guess what? A lot of sexual abuse occurs with
family members. Yeah, that's where the trauma starts. Yes.
Right? Yeah. And he was held gun barrel and shared his story. I mean, he was blowing me away when he was recording. I was like, I did not know that part. And he's like crying and coming out with it. And so we covered a little bit of that, you know, in that, because that's the natural question. That's why Chris came out super courageously. Not Chris Gazzi, Chris Davos. You know, because he needs the glory for that in coming out and being honest about this stuff, because that's honestly the biggest step. Yeah. That's one of the things we talked about in the program. It really happened. Being honest about that, and I can't stress enough, any simple small step towards, you know, talking to a therapist, or just take the one step to even just make a phone call to a therapy office, whatever it is that you're doing, one little step forward to deal directly with this is really, I guess, what comes to my mind, because there's a lot. Right. But just to ramble about that a little bit more too, when you're dealing with trauma, you don't have to like bleed all over the table, you know. You don't have to like have the whole reveal. All you really need to do is take at least one simple step. Maybe that's in your own head, praying to your own creator. Right? That's the step that you can take today. Maybe that's just writing a thought down in a paragraph by yourself, and you write it down and you burn it. Nobody even has to know that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can take a step that includes another person, key point that is safe to do so with, then you do that. And if that's a phone call to a therapist, if that's a preacher, if that's a next door neighbor, I don't care who it is, somebody that's emotionally safe for you. And then I can go on.
Yeah, but no, that's great.
Listen,
that's good.
we're going to let him go on too,
Yeah.
but right now we have to take a break. Here on Grown Man Conversations, a visual podcast, we're talking with Dr. Christopher Godstick. We're talking about mental health, and we're also going to be talking about his book, Through a Therapist's Eyes, and you're hearing some of that information right now, and we are getting ready to let you know who our sponsor is that keeps it running over here at Grown Man Conversations. And when we come back, you best believe I got the question for him, because I'm getting ready to ask him about that plant medicine.
Ooh.
So you don't want to miss
this.
this.
And if you have any questions, you can also post your questions up and ask him as well. But we'll be right back.
Play that commercial, Mama.
Peace of mind with Silver Shield Security, which has been protecting my family and home, along with servicing the Carolinas for over a decade. Silver Shield Security knows the importance of convenience and safety. Whether you live in an apartment, a home, or run a business, they are here to protect you from unwanted intrusions and fires. You can trust Silver Shield Security to install a high-quality security system that you can access directly from your smartphone. Call now at 704-440-4688 or visit the website at www.silvershield-security.com. You can use my promo code #ToneX and get 1/2 off your installation price. Don't forget to ask about the new no money down options. Let Silver Shield Security help to give you peace of mind, just like me and my family, and keep your business safe. I have
we look so cozy.
So nice and cozy
Better
up
than
there,
the
being
hustles.
protected by Silver Shield Security.
Silver Shield Security, make sure you go to silvershield-security.com. That is the website. You can use my promo code #ToneX. We keep telling you, you get 50% off of the installation fee. 50, or as Spike Lee would say, 50% off of the installation fee. It's great. The company is great. This is a black woman that's in the field with some of these major security companies, and we talked on last week and told you how customer service is through the roof. And so if you have an apartment, if you have a home, a business, and you want that added peace of mind that you can take with you, look through your phone, all the technology, then you definitely want to check out Silver Shield Security, silvershield-security.com. Use my promo code #ToneX, get 50% off. And I'm telling you, we have it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
All right? You sleep much better, especially if you're out of town and
Yeah.
you know your family's safe.
Yeah.
Trust and believe, you sleep much better. We are here with Mr. Christopher Godstick. He is the author of the book Through a Therapist's Eyes, and we are talking about mental health.
What's up, Gregory Jackson?
Gregory Jackson, what's up, fam? We're talking about mental health. I hope you've been rolling with us since we started. If you haven't, man, you have missed a lot of great information. And you know what I always say, information is the new currency. Sir, are you familiar with plant medicine?
Plant medicine. Is that a certain special...
Ayahuasca, Iboga,
yes.
DMT. Okay.
The psychotropics.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about that?
I'm reserved at best.
I'm
Previously,
going
I
to Costa
would
Rica
have...
to do it.
What's that?
I am going to Costa Rica.
Are you doing it?
To do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what you would want to maybe listen to, I hate to say this to my clients, I say this all the time to them, you know, let them dab into what we've talked about, but on Through a Therapist's Eyes, the podcast, we did a show with Dr. Craig Chepke. That was his name. So Craig Chepke is an awesome doctor in the area that is one of very few that is authorized to do. It's been a while since we've done that one. Special K is not it. S-ketamine. Yeah, he did S-ketamine treatment. It's a nasal spray that they deliver in their office in a safe environment, and you kind of get into a dreamy state. And Craig talked way better about it than I'm going to be able to. We had an awesome conversation about psychotropics. He's a psychiatrist, by the way, Dr. Craig Chepke, and it was really fascinating. It was one of the shows that I did that I was just like dialed in, like I wanted to learn all about it because I was a skeptic intensely until I talked to him, and I told him I was going to be. I'm like, listen, you're coming on. You need to know this is my attitude, this is my perspective, and through our conversation, we actually did do a part 1 and a part 2 with him because it was 2 hours. I didn't want to skimp on that information, and he made me comfortable with it. He did. He made me comfortable with it. I thought, well, this is interesting. One of the things I remember he taught us on that episode was that. So, gosh, I don't know how deep we want to go.
We go there.
Well, there's just a lot of information. So, the normal psychotropic medication that we use is SSRIs, SSRIs and SNRIs, serotonin reuptake inhibitors, messing with the neurotransmitter serotonin, right? You've heard a lot about dopamine as well. And SNRIs are operations on the neurotransmitter process for serotonin and norepinephrine. So these are kind of the neurotransmitters that we try to manage and manipulate with things like depression and anxiety and all that kind of thing. Well, Dr. Chepke there on our show, he made the point that about, I'm making up numbers a little bit now because I need to go back and refresh my memory. But like 90% of our brain operates with GABA, right? Gabapentin. That's a processing chemical in our brain, if I'm understanding neurology correctly. Well, we don't have anything that deals with that, right? And so it's supposed that some of those out-of-the-box options operate with, the different GABA
part of the
right? And they've taken pieces out of the chemicals that get you high. I mentioned Special K and acid and all this kind of stuff. They took the S-ketamine, and I think I'm saying that wrong, that they took the component out of it to do the FDA-approved treatments. But now when you go down and do the coyote trips and all that kind of stuff, man, bro, like, I don't know what all that is. There's a lot of stuff in there, man.
That's those journeys.
It's a journey indeed.
That's those journeys that take you deep inside yourself.
Yeah.
And shadow work.
That take you deep inside yourself. When you can do something that can take you back to when you were 5 years old and show you a picture of your grandfather molesting you, and you can see it vivid like a movie, and it moves you, and you understand that your soul has separated from yourself. That's why the ego has took over, and you didn't understand why you were this way toward women, why you were this way toward, and you see it, and then you start to the self-help that you need. Once again, you can't fix a problem with the same mindset. So how do you elevate outside of yourself to go inward? And this is just one of the ways that you do it. And it's not a lot. Of course, Western medicine isn't going to.
Have you read up on it a lot? Do you know what it's all about?
Yeah, read up on it.
Yeah.
Talk to shamans. And she'll tell you. Been doing in-depth research for the last 3 years.
And
but
it's
I've been
more
wanting
of
to go
a spiritual journey
very
than
much so.
Yeah,
it's not a trip.
Right,
If you're
it's
just
a trip.
going to do a trip,
it's
Yeah,
not
you
can
just
do that in
tree
your
dripping
living
and watching
room.
paint
you
dripping.
can
Right.
that's definitely not
I just
what
made
it
a
is.
rhyme. Do you hear that rhyme?
I know you
You
did.
did.
That's a good one. He didn't even get it, man.
It's so say it again. Say it again, JC.
It comes out natural, man. It's just natural straight. But listen, so part of what I've begun to understand about it, you correct me if I'm wrong in what you've seen, because I think it's kind of fascinating, right? So what we're trying to do is manage the brain with what we understand operates with depression and anxiety, the neurotransmitter system, the amygdala. It's very, very detailed in what we're trying to learn about the brain, which I would submit neurologically we are only very much beginning to understand a little bit about what's going on there. But what it's supposed to be, as I've understood it, when you're doing any of those types of treatment styles, is you're dealing with the brain's synaptic connections, right? And it's supposed to like explode the synapses and all of the connections that happens with neurons, right?
Right.
And after you're done tripping or taking your whatever, the reality of it is, and there's a very important point at the end of this I want to make, or come back to me with this point, it continues to grow, right? Synapses connections in the brain for weeks or months to come, and that's very important for a reason. That's what I want to come back to. But does that sound like what you've understood or what you've grown to learn about it?
Basically, and it is a more, like she said, it's a more spiritual journey. It's not for everybody. It's for really those who feel that they're called to do this plant medicine because it's your soul talking to you. If someone tells you about it and some of the experiences and you're like, what? Then they say that you have more earth work to do. But for those who take these journeys, it's called finding your miracle. And they have used it to treat depression. They have used it to treat alcohol abuse. They've used it to treat drug abuse because one of the things that it does is it goes on the inside and it starts to show you who you are. When you set your intentions before you use it, one is show me who I've become, one is cleanse my heart, and one is reconnect me to my soul at all costs. So when you go in and you start that process, that's the ugly work. And that's why it's called some of the hardest work that you ever do, because if you come face to face with all of this negative stuff that's inside of you that you never knew was there, and you have to face it and you have to deal with it, a lot of us run away from it.
Heck yeah.
But they tell you during the journey, what looks pleasant and what looks good, leave that alone. What looks bad and what looks dark, run to that, because that's the fear. And a lot of us function off fear. What do you say fear is?
Fear is false evidence appearing real.
A lot of us function off of fear. And a lot
Which
of
emotions can be.
right. A lot of times fear keeps us
From moving
stagnant.
forward.
It keeps us from moving forward. It keeps us from looking inward. It keeps us from dealing with the truth. There's a lot of people who, like I hear Charlamagne the God talk all the time about his therapist.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of celebrities talk about their therapist.
Therapist.
And like
Catching
you
on.
said, back in the day, you wouldn't tell nobody
Right.
that you was going to see a therapist. But a lot of these individuals, and a lot of them are black males
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that I know,
I'm telling you, it's amazing to watch the change occur.
and it keeps them at a point where normally they would be looking for a building, a bridge, or somewhere to jump off of because they couldn't deal with reality.
Well, listen, you're in the comedic world, I believe. I looked you
Yeah.
up a little bit,
Oh, I'm in it.
right?
Yeah.
I'm in
Well,
it.
hell, I mean, we've had far too many awesome comedian
Yes.
personalities that are in this because of, you know, what the emotions are behind the mask that you mentioned before. And it just cracks me up. It bugs me so bad. It makes me super sad. That was a rhyme too. Did you catch that?
Bugs me
Did
so
you catch
bad.
that one?
It bugs me so bad. It makes me super sad. Yeah.
Okay,
You got the
Eminem.
bars tonight.
Okay, Eminem.
I'm working.
Right.
I'm working.
That
You
swag
hang
is-
with me,
that
man.
You done
swag
picked the
is
mic up.
rubbing off on you,
You gotta
baby.
pick the mic up. I always tell Yolanda, comedy is therapy.
Yeah.
But it is, but what's behind that is what's important and what you're getting at. And so I want to circle back to what you're saying about the journey that you go to. I want to circle back to, and you said a very important word, I feel like, and that is start. That is a starting spot. Because think about what I'm saying, if my neurology is correct, which please go look it up or talk to neurologists because that's far above my pay grade. But what I've learned is that those synapses, right, those neuron connections in the way that we think and the way emotions operate in our brains begin to connect. And when they're connecting for the weeks or months after you do whatever it is that you're going to do, you have a great opportunity in therapy, in a process that goes on, because I don't care what it is, you're probably not going to find a quick snap fix. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it to resolve trauma or to resolve addiction and whatnot. But the opportunity that starts
Yeah.
is growth on a neurological level, quite possibly, in addition to the spiritual
and the
physical, because our emotional and our physical connections are profoundly attached, right? So there's a lot going on. I don't want people to think it's going to be just a simple thing
overnight.
like that. Go hit the process and trust in that process, because it's amazing. I'm telling you, it's such an honor to be invited into somebody's life in the way that they share the things that they're sharing in a therapy process. I mean, it dumbfounds me sometimes what allowed into people's process.
Do you ever need therapy?
I'm obviously speechless.
Right, but do you ever need therapy after?
Yeah.
But no, not even just for you, but after some of the therapy that you're giving and some of the scenarios that people go through. Yeah, like if you're something.
Absolutely, it's important to practice what you preach. I mean, I say the cornerstone of mental health is self-care. You got to fun, relaxing, enjoyable activities that aren't self-destructive in any way and aren't work-related tasks. I said that 1,000 times because I've got a mastermind group that I'm a part of. Shout out to those guys, man. I mean, they help sustain me. They help, hold you whole. And accountable as well. But, I mean, I can go to those guys anytime I need. I've got a couple of very close personal friends that I have super high level of trust with. They know everything about me and them. I mean, I have a relationship with my Creator. This is super important to me from a Christian perspective. So, you have to practice what you preach and manage it, because all of us, no matter what, it isn't just being a therapist. I mean, you deal with people being a comedian. How crazy that make you feel?
Right.
Like crazy hecklers and whatever. As a matter of fact, I heard a show you was talking about it, where it's really changed. Talking about social media, people, it's dangerous now. Crazy to me, some of the things we're dealing with.
It is, and
Getting punched on stage and whatever.
that
Come
was
on.
great. And when you talk about doing activities, for self-care and you can learn a lot from nature.
Oh, I love nature.
You can learn a lot from nature. Nature is smarter than man, and sometimes you forget about energy. We are all energy. That's all we are. We are all energy. And sometimes you forget about the energy as when you walk through the woods, when you walk on the beach and you're near the water, when you sit under a tree.
Are your husband and I kindred spirits, man?
And you read a book.
What is that, man?
Exactly, with that frequency.
Kayaking in water going down the creek, bro. Like, I'm with you.
Nature is, sometimes you have to take your shoes off and walk on the grass. You can forget about that living in the city where every time your foot comes down, it touches concrete, but you forget about the connection with nature, laying in the middle of the backyard with your arms out.
From West Virginia?
You know what I mean?
This guy's in my head, man.
Yes, and all of that is super important, the energy that you get from the sun. No one wants to go outside because it's too hot, but you don't understand what happens when you walk and those vitamin D and that energy.
Listen,
from
we
the sun
learning about neurology.
Coming down
the
on
biology
top of
with
you.
it. Yes.
Oh yeah. So nature is incredible.
The moon, and honestly, we're learning a little bit about the gravitational realities and the
what
magnetic
happens.
realities. Like, yes,
That's
huge.
where the crystals come in.
Smooth for the soul.
That's where the crystals
that's got to be
come in.
part two.
I don't know about all crystals. I don't know nothing about the crystal rock stuff, though.
Oh man,
Is that a thing? And magnets and stuff.
That's a real.
Is that a real thing?
Oh, that's a real thing.
Oh, we got it on. Okay,
Oh,
what's that one?
That's
I'm
a
curious.
real thing. That's the crystal right there. That is a real thing. And the copper.
Okay.
No, that's for alignment. That's for energy. Yeah, because your body gives off that energy and that pull. That's just like the crystal that you put in your bedroom and you point it north for realignment when you sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, man, you come to the right place.
Okay, bro.
You are definitely in the right place.
Let me learn. Let me learn. As I say on this show, let's figure this out together.
Right.
By the way, before I lose the opportunity, man, I just want to thank you guys for talking about these topics.
Yes.
Like, I just, it's my jam, and it's what's so important. And to hear other people. I mean, I saw you light up when we met. You know, and I was like, all right.
Oh, you lit up.
She lit up about mental health, brother.
Oh, she out here lighting up, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
All right.
because I knew that you
Is
did
it popping
great.
insecurities?
Come
I'm coming
on.
on.
the insecurities,
I'm
bro?
coming on the couch. I already told you I'm coming.
But I knew that he would be a great guest, and I knew just with your background and your history, your knowledge, that, you know, just helping bring some insight, and if nothing else, comfortability to people to speak up about it. You know, because even though, like you mentioned, you are seeing more people come into the office, more people of color, more men, more Hispanics, but still, there's those folks who are holding on and sometimes just need that reconfirmation or that re-encouragement to know that it's okay. And someone like you now getting into
They need
the
to know
book,
where they can go.
and how can they get in touch
Some
with
people
you?
say we
And
don't
then
know where
let's
to go.
definitely talk
Absolutely.
about the book too before we finish.
Well, don't worry about that. I
How
actually
can they
wanna,
get the book?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. I want to look in the camera really because, like, listen, like you just laid it out, Yolanda, and I really appreciate that. Like, there are so many people that feel alone, that are feeling isolated, and are going through all sorts of things like this. And before I miss the opportunity, I really want to invite you to a process to just take it for real. Like, take a little shot. Just make a little call. It's one little step that you want to do. Doesn't make you crazy. Doesn't make you weird. Doesn't make you weak. Tone, it don't make you weak if you're a guy to talk about these things, right? Like, we have this stuff built up in our heads so much that I want to blow that up so that you can get just a little bit of support even, right, about wellness. And you might find that it makes a major change and makes a major turn, whether it's depression, anxiety, addiction, bipolar. We are out there to help you with that. Reach
How
out.
can they get in contact with you?
You know what? For me, it doesn't matter. I want them to realize, right? Like, you know, well, we do a whole show on access to mental health care. That's a whole other topic. Because there are a lot of good therapists that are out there. There are a lot of people that will help you with mental health. You know, psychiatry with medicine, therapists with therapy. You know, you have EAPs now that are being very popularly used with your company. Just literally call your human resource department at work to reach out. The point is reach out in any way, in any little way that you can. That's what I really want to point out.
Aren't you in Mount Holly?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if someone wants to reach out to you,
No, because he's going to keep on, but I'm just going to give him the information because I got the information.
Okay.
I'm trying to let him,
Right.
but he's trying to be like, well, no, you know, there's so
but
many.
somebody
I'm
might
getting ready
have a
to
comfort level with
tell
seeing
them to
you
go
here
to
tonight, and
Metrolina.
they feel like that they can, reach out to
Right.
you.
Well, what I'd rather plug, honestly, is the Through a Therapist's Eyes podcast, because that has so much information that you can really begin to get, you know, and there's so many therapists. I mean, you guys are a national podcast, right? So, you know, you need to know that whatever city you're in, there's
True.
people doing therapy there.
True.
That's what's important to me, that you do the little reach out,
Right.
you know, and our podcast is a great way to start, because, dude, we got a lot of topics. We're pushing 200 episodes here in a minute.
Great.
Which blows my brain away, right? So, I love the conversation, guys. I love doing it. I just didn't want to run out of time before I babbled about.
But no, man,
my
listen, we
appreciation.
appreciate you coming on. I'm glad that after you went to the play with Carolyn, I'm glad
We
you
went
bumped
to the
into this
restaurant.
gentleman. Jackie, your guy. Okay.
Right.
I'm glad you bumped into the gentleman. A lot of information here tonight, and information is the new currency, and it is not a game when you talk about mental health. And I remember when Sister came on, and she was talking, Fonda, she was talking about those words, those words that you hear, and you have to stop saying like crazy and psycho,
geez,
and
yes.
because you're not crazy,
Not psychotic.
you're not psycho, and all of those words that keep a lot of people from going and getting help and going and talking to somebody or speaking to a therapist.
Here's the thought.
psychologist,
Instead of
psychiatrist.
shaming your brother or your sister, how about we support your brother and your sister
There you go.
into hitting it, right?
Right,
There you go.
absolutely.
Because we do fall into blaming people and shaming people. You said about your ego shooting out at other people. I mean, it's
Right.
real easy to have happen, right? So, yes.
And listen, before we get up out of here, mark your calendar. September 21st, mark your calendar. That is a Wednesday night.
Yes.
That is coming up. Another dope vibe energy session going down at 1501 South Mint on the
Speak
South
Easy
End.
Wednesdays.
It's called Speak Easy Wednesdays. You get a chance to come out and just vibe with us. The energy is great. The drinks are great, and the food. Shout out to Chef Jewel from It's Alive. You can come get that Tonex Pesto Burger, which is off the hook. The people have spoken. One of the best burgers in the city.
I'm a pesto fan.
Oh,
honestly, man, that sounds pretty tough right there for sure.
It's very tasty. It's very tasty.
It's on
And
another
another date that I want you to mark down tonight.
Yeah.
Put it in your smartphone right now. November 17th. Thursday, November 17th. This year, my born date actually falls on a Thursday, which is Laugh It Up Thursday. This is going to be a very special comedy show. This is my born date comedy show. It is going to be big. It is all about laughs and love. It is all about laughs and love. I want you to go and get your tickets from ysprosent.com. Tickets will go on sale Monday. All right? If we're telling you about something in September that's happening in November, there's a reason why we are doing that. All right? It's going to be at Stats. It is my actual born date, Thursday, November 17th. And I know a lot of people, you might not catch a show every month. You might catch a show every now and then. But if you haven't been to Laugh It Up Thursday,
Baby.
or if you want to catch a show, this is the one to do it. And I'll tell you why. The older you get, the more important born dates are. Because 365 trips around the sun become more and more difficult. And you understand that tomorrow is not promised. You can just see my comedy comrade, David Arnold, that we lost. And that goes to show you that there are no guarantees. He was just on Instagram talking about his comedy classes that he was doing this weekend. He was excited about that. And he was telling you where he was going to be, where he was going to be performing. And it didn't happen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So if you have a chance to show me some love, on my born date
November 17th
is the day that you should do it. Because it's going to be a special night. All about laughs and loves. My Laugh It Up Thursdays, born date comedy show, Thursday, November 17th. If you're a Scorpio, you definitely need to be in the building. Tickets go on sale Monday, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
They go on sale Monday. Get your VIP tickets, not now, but right now.
So again, just to reiterate, there will not be a Laugh It Up Thursday in September. There won't be one in October, but we will be back November 17th.
In a big way.
In a very big Mickey Ficky way.
In a big way.
Yes.
All right. So listen, we appreciate y'all tuning in tonight.
Yes, we do.
All right. That is our time. That is another great show.
And definitely go follow Chris Gastick at Through a Therapist's Eyes. They can go through to the website, which is throughabtherapist'seyes.com, correct?
Yep.
And also on all social media platforms, which would be Facebook, LinkedIn, and
Look for the big
Instagram.
blue eye.
Yep, look for the big blue eye.
Look
and
for
the
the
book.
big blue eye.
Look it up on Amazon, bestseller. So definitely, I'm sure you can go to Amazon and get a copy of the book if you want to get a copy of the book. But thank you for being on the show.
And,
We're
and
definitely.
you guys got this one.
Ooh,
Oh, man.
awesome!
You guys
Did you
got
autograph
that.
it?
I did sign it. I did
Awesome.
sign it.
Is that one his or ours?
You could share it, man.
Okay.
You could share it,
I'm
bro.
coming on the couch, man. We're going to talk about this sharing thing. That's what we're going to talk about.
Oh.
So,
Hey,
we
listen,
definitely got
man.
to do a part 2 with you.
Oh, yeah.
I would love that. I'd be honored
We
with that.
definitely got to do that. And shout out to Silver Shield Security. SilverShield-security.com. Use my promo code. It's Grown Man Conversations.
We
all
love
right?
you too, OGD.
We love you for real.
Thank you for joining.
Not
and
for
watching
ratings.
The show.
All right?
Yes.
Your mental health
Is your wealth.
We gone. We out.
You know that you're down with me.